I felt the crystal tumbler cool against my palm as I knocked back the last drop of scotch. The burn in my throat was nothing compared to the fire that ignited in my chest when I saw her across the room, Camilla, my ex-wife, radiant under the chandelier light of the Ambassador Hotel's grand ballroom. "Another, sir?" The bartender's voice barely registered as I watched Camilla work the crowd, her emerald dress catching the light with every graceful movement. "Please." I slid the empty glass forward, my eyes never leaving her. The charity auction was in full swing, wealthy patrons raising paddles with casual flicks of their wrists, dropping thousands as easily as others might toss coins into a fountain. I'd received an anonymous invitation 3 days ago, a crisp envelope with my name elegantly scripted across the front, the kind of stationery that costs more than most people's daily wage. I adjusted my tie, modest but quality material, nothing that would draw attention. That was the point. In my world, invisibility had become currency more valuable than gold. The bartender returned with my drink. "Not bidding tonight, sir?" "Just observing," I replied, taking a measured sip. "Sometimes it's more interesting to watch than participate." Across the room, a paddle went up, and the auctioneer's voice rose with excitement. 50,000 to the gentleman in blue. "Do I hear 60? Camilla clapped her hands in delight, leaning to whisper something to the man beside her, Preston Vance, her new husband, president of Vance Cordes Holdings. His laughter boomed across the room, drawing admiring glances from those desperate to be included in whatever joke had been shared. I took another sip, letting the amber liquid roll over my tongue. 7 years ago, I would have been the one standing beside her, playing the part of the adoring husband. 7 years ago, before her father decided I wasn't worthy of the Hales dynasty. "Logan." Her voice cut through my thoughts like a blade through silk. "Logan Shaw? What a surprise." I turned slowly, composing my features into pleasant neutrality. Camilla stood before me, champagne flute in hand, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. She'd always had that tell, when she was acting, her smile stopped at the curve of her cheeks, never crinkling the corners of her eyes. "Camilla," I nodded. "You look well." "As do you," she replied, her gaze sweeping over my suit with practiced assessment. "Though I must say I'm surprised to see you here. These events aren't usually frequented by, well, people in your position." The barb was elegant, wrapped in silk but sharp nonetheless. I took another sip of my scotch, letting the moment stretch between us. "I received an invitation," I said simply. It seemed rude to decline. She hummed, twirling her champagne. "Honestly, I thought you were still fetching coffee for the big shots. Last I heard, you were some sort of administrative assistant." Before I could answer, Preston's bulk appeared behind her, his hand possessively circling her waist. "Darling, who's your friend?" His voice dripped with false congeniality. "Not a friend, dear," Camilla corrected. "My ex-husband, Logan Shaw." Preston's eyebrows rose slightly. "Ah, the famous ex. Well, isn't this quaint? It's always charming when little people try to play in our league, isn't it?" I noticed a man with a small notebook lingering nearby, his attention thinly veiled as he scribbled something. A journalist, documenting the interactions of the elite. "Perfect." "Sometimes," I replied, maintaining eye contact with Preston, "the greatest strength lies in remaining unnoticed." Preston laughed too loudly. "Philosophy from the sidelines. How charming." He guided Camilla away with a proprietary hand at the small of her back. "Do enjoy the canapés, Logan. I hear they're quite excellent even for those on a budget." Their laughter floated back to me as they rejoined the crowd of glittering socialites. I finished my scotch in one swallow, placing the empty glass on the bar with deliberate care. My phone vibrated in my pocket. A text message from my informant in the financial sector. "Vance Cordes teetering on the edge. Looking for saviors. Opportunity knocks." I smiled to myself, the familiar calm of purpose settling over me. Sometimes the universe has a sense of humor. And sometimes patience is rewarded in the most unexpected ways. I left without bidding on anything. I didn't need to. The real auction, the one that mattered, was just beginning. The cold air hit my face as I left the Ambassador Hotel, a welcome shock after the stifling atmosphere inside. I loosened my tie, letting the winter night clear my head. My grandfather's words echoed in my mind, "Still waters run deep, Logan." 7 years earlier, I stood in almost the same spot, newly fired and publicly humiliated. Robert Hales, Camilla's father, had made sure everyone knew I was being excised from their world. "Some people are born to lead," he'd announced to the entire office floor as security escorted me out. "Others are meant to fetch coffee." His eyes had bored into mine, cold as a shark's. Know your place, Shaw. That day, rain had soaked through my expensive suit, the last remnant of the life I'd shared with Camilla. Today the sky was clear, stars visible despite the city lights. A fitting symmetry. My phone buzzed again. Diamond. My old chess teacher, now my most enigmatic investor. The pieces are in position, his text read. Bishop takes knight in 3 moves. I smiled. Our chess code had served us well over the years. Diamond saw potential in me when everyone else saw debris from a failed marriage. He'd found me in a public park, staring at a chessboard, 3 days after Robert fired me. You play like someone with nothing to lose, he'd said, settling his elderly frame across from me. That's powerful. Now, his text confirmed our strategy was working. The hidden structure of Northgate Strategies, my creation, was ready for its next phase. I walked past my modest car to the subway station. Most assumed I couldn't afford better. They never questioned why a mere administrative consultant attended their galas, too busy looking past me toward more impressive targets. That was the beauty of it all. In their world, the invisible man was the most dangerous player on the board. Sometimes, I whispered to the night, revenge is a dish best served anonymous. My apartment greeted me with the familiar rumble of washing machines from the laundromat below. The constant hum had become a comfort, white noise drowning out memories of the life I once had. I flicked on the lights, illuminating my humble kingdom. A studio apartment with just enough space for a bed, my makeshift desk, an old door balanced on sawhorses, and a small kitchenette. The only luxury I'd allowed myself was a high-end laptop, my window to empires I was quietly building. The credit crisis of 2019 nearly destroyed everything. 3 clients pulled out in 1 week, terrified of market volatility. I'd woken in cold sweats, dreams of serving coffee to Preston and Camilla for eternity, them never once looking at my face. I hung my jacket carefully, appearances matter even when no one's watching, and settled at my desk. Financial reports from a dozen companies spread before me, each one a chess piece in a game most couldn't see. My phone rang. Jack Phelps, a former Special Forces veteran now running a transportation company teetering on bankruptcy. They're moving to foreclose? His voice was steady, but I caught the edge of desperation. The bank gave us 30 days. My drivers have families, Logan. I studied the night skyline through my narrow window. Jack's company wasn't just another client. Like me, he'd been crushed under the heel of privilege, a military hero discarded when he questioned corrupt defense contracts. I have a plan, I told him, something shifting within me. We're done merely surviving, Jack. It's time to dominate. I didn't sleep for the next 72 hours. The strategy one developed became what my team later called the Phoenix Protocol, a rebirth through strategic destruction. 6 months later, Jack's company emerged debt-free and industry-leading. He gifted me an antique chess piece, a Black Knight, now the only personal item on my desk. For the man who appears where no one expects, he'd said. I never told him how perfectly he'd captured the essence of my entire existence. Traditional recruitment methods never appealed to me. While corporations hunted Ivy League graduates, I searched for talent in the overlooked corners, people who'd been dismissed, underestimated, or pushed aside. I found Bryn Harrison during a pharmaceutical company rescue. During meetings, executives would present ideas while a woman in the back row silently shook her head, making notes no one bothered to read. The analyst in the green blazer, I whispered to my assistant. Get me everything on her. 2 days later, I sat on a park bench watching pigeons scatter as Bryn approached. Former military intelligence. Mathematics genius. Perpetually passed over for promotion. Mr. Shaw, she said, settling beside me without looking my way. Or should I say, the ghost behind Northgate's success? My pulse quickened. I'm just an administrative consultant. She laughed, autumn sunlight catching her dark curls. I analyzed the linguistic patterns in every restructuring report. Your phantom CEO didn't write them. You did. She turned, eyes sharp as a hawk's. The question is, why hide? Instead of denying it, I offered her partnership rather than employment, the first time I'd revealed myself willingly. I was top of my class at MIT, she said, watching a child chase bubbles across the grass. My senior project was stolen by a classmate. Daddy owned half of Boston. She's an executive at Google now. I fix spreadsheets for men who can't read them. I recognized the familiar burn of injustice. Help me build something different. Within months, we formed our core team, the Four Horsemen, myself, Bryn, Ray the tech genius, and Emma the psychologist. We moved like a jazz quartet, each knowing when to lead and when to support. We implemented what Bryn called the Gray Effect, strategies for becoming the power behind the throne in corporate America. Our symbol, the chess knight. Our motto, unspoken but understood, let the moves speak for themselves. Northgate began specializing in companies ruined by poor legacy leadership, heirs and heiresses playing at business with their parents' money. The irony wasn't lost on me. Every company saved was another move in a game Robert Hales didn't know we were playing. 5 years after founding Northgate, our reputation for corporate resurrection had grown from whispers to respected legend. We operated with surgical precision, our real methods known only to the core team. The first sign of trouble came in a Forbes article. Wall Street's ghost, who really runs Northgate? Someone had leaked our playbook. It has to be Wendy, Bryn insisted during our emergency meeting. She's only been here 6 months and she's my cousin. I vouched for her. I remained silent, watching the rain streak down the windows of our hidden office. The betrayal stung, but something didn't add up. 3 days of investigation revealed the truth. Our actor CO, the face I hired to be Northgate's public image, had been feeding information to none other than Robert Hales. He's known it was you all along, Emma concluded, reviewing the evidence. He's been tracking your moves for years. That night, a message arrived through an encrypted channel we reserved for our most sensitive clients. Mutual enemy. Mutual benefit. Chess club. Midnight. The old chess club downtown had closed years ago, but Diamond kept it maintained as our emergency meeting point. I arrived to find Preston Vance sitting alone at a board, a glass of scotch in his hand. I still hate you, he said without looking up. But I respect what you've built. Flattery doesn't suit you, Preston. I remained standing. Why am I here? Robert's planning to destroy us both. He moved a pawn forward. He knows you're behind Northgate and he suspects I've been skimming from his medical holdings. Have you? No. His laugh was hollow. But he thinks I have, which amounts to the same thing in Robert's world. Preston pushed a file across the table. Tomorrow he announces a hostile takeover of my company, then dismantles it to access my medical facilities. Then he comes for Northgate. I studied Preston's face, looking for deception. Finding none, I sat down. 2 kings against an emperor, Preston offered his hand. I shook it, sealing our unlikely alliance. When I returned to my office that night, I found my chess knight turned upside down, Diamond's ancient warning signal. The game had changed. The anonymous invitation arrived in an unmarked envelope, cream-colored cardstock with embossed lettering. Branson and Roystro, 8 p.m. No signature needed. The exclusivity of the restaurant spoke volumes. I arrived precisely at 8, dressed in a suit that balanced perfectly between forgettable and respectable. The maitre d' guided me through the dimly lit dining room, where ceiling-high wine racks cast latticed shadows across white tablecloths. Near the bar, I spotted Camilla and Preston. Something about their posture seemed theatrical, too rigid, too aware of being observed. Logan Shaw. Camilla's voice carried across the room, louder than necessary. Still struggling to find your place in the world? Preston laughed, raising his glass. Still bringing coffee to the big shots, eh? I noticed his subtle signal, 3 quick taps against his tumbler, our agreed code. They were performing for someone. Some things never change, I replied, playing my part as the defeated ex-husband. As I followed the host to my table, I scanned the room. 3 tables away sat Robert Hales with 2 men I didn't recognize. Their watchful eyes confirmed my suspicions. This was a staged humiliation. I ordered calmly, reviewed market reports on my phone, and observed the room's dynamics through the reflection in the window beside me. My phone vibrated, a message from Bryn. Eagle has landed. Trojan horse in the nest. Our countermeasures were in place. As I finished my meal, Robert and his companions rose to leave. The older man's confident stride told me he believed he'd witnessed my continued irrelevance. Exactly what we wanted him to see. In the parking lot, I found a folder tucked under my windshield wiper, bearing the Vance Cortez Holdings logo. Inside, detailed plans for the medical facility merger and documents exposing vulnerabilities in Robert's company structure. Simultaneously, my phone lit up with notifications. Gale's financial stock had plummeted 15% on rumors of financial improprieties. I smiled, starting my car. In chess, the winning move often appears insignificant until it's too late to counter. Robert had come to witness my humiliation. Instead, he'd witnessed his own undoing, and didn't even know it yet. Our window is 48 hours, I told my team, gathered in our secondary office, a converted warehouse with reinforced security. After that, Robert adapts. Bryn projected documents onto the wall. He's been siphoning assets from Preston's companies for years. Clever, he created shell companies that appear to be vendors, then overcharged for services never rendered. The medical facilities merger is the linchpin, Ray added, tracing connections on the screen. Once completed, he'll have laundered nearly $30 million through restructuring fees. Emma studied psychological profiles on her tablet. Robert expects people to behave predictably, hide when threatened, negotiate when cornered. He's never faced someone who does neither. I made my decision. We don't hide. We confront. Rather than operating from the shadows, Northgate submitted an official consultation bid for the merger. As expected, Preston and Camilla received formal meeting invitations with Northgate's leadership. I personally arranged every detail of the conference room, the precise placement of the chairs, the temperature set 2 degrees cooler than comfort demanded, and at the center of the polished table, a chessboard with pieces positioned in the final moves of a famous endgame. They arrived together, Preston, Camilla, and, unexpectedly, Robert. His surprise appearance was meant to unbalance me. "Where is Northgate's CEO?" Robert demanded, taking a dominant position at the head of the table. "Running late," my assistant replied. Minutes passed. Tension built. Robert checked his watch repeatedly. When the double doors finally opened, I walked in. "Forgive my tardiness," I said, sitting at the chair I'd designated for myself, opposite Robert. "I was busy saving companies from people like you." Robert's face paled. Camilla gasped. Preston maintained a practiced neutral expression. On the wall screen behind me, evidence of Robert's machinations appeared in damning detail. Fraudulent transactions, shell companies, fabricated invoices. "In chess, Robert," I said, gesturing to the board between us, "it's not how many pieces you capture that matters, but how many moves ahead you've planned." I turned to Camilla. "Your father has been systematically draining your husband's company. And Preston has been helping me prove it." The betrayal in her eyes as she looked between her father and husband was almost painful to witness. The endgame had begun. The aftermath hit like a financial tsunami. Gale's financial stock plummeted 40% in a single day as news of the SEC investigation broke. Robert's empire, built on reputation as much as wealth, began crumbling under scrutiny. I watched from my office window as media vans camped outside the Gale's headquarters. My phone hadn't stopped ringing. Reporters, investors, even old colleagues suddenly remembering our friendship. "The SEC has requested all our documentation," Bryn reported. "They're treating us as whistleblowers, not accomplices." I nodded, unsurprised. We'd been meticulous about our own ethical boundaries even while orchestrating Robert's downfall. The knock on my door came 3 days later. No appointment, no warning. Camilla stood in my reception area, dramatically different from the woman who'd mocked me at the charity gala. Gone were the designer clothes and perfect makeup. Her eyes carried the hollow look of someone whose foundations had crumbled. "I didn't come to apologize," she said when we were alone. "I came to understand." "Understand what, exactly?" I remained standing, unwilling to offer the comfort of casual conversation. "How I spent my life as a pawn in my father's games." She met my gaze directly. "And how you managed to win when everyone thought you'd lost." Her vulnerability seemed genuine, something I'd rarely seen during our marriage. "My father controlled everything. My marriage to you, our divorce, even my relationship with Preston." She sank into a chair. "I never made a single choice that was truly mine." I studied her, searching for manipulation. Finding none, I offered a path forward neither of us expected. "Show me you can be more than Robert Hale's daughter." She looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" "Testify against your father. Help the investigation. Rebuild something authentic from the ruins." Preston attempted damage control in the following days, spinning narratives that painted him as another victim. But I'd anticipated his moves, ensuring his complicity was thoroughly documented. Meanwhile, Camilla's transformation stunned the financial world. Her social media, once showcasing luxury and privilege, became a platform exposing corporate corruption. The restaurant video went viral, not as my humiliation, but as evidence of the toxic culture I'd overcome. Her punishment wasn't my revenge, it was her awakening. 6 months after Robert Hale's fall, I stood before my team in our expanded headquarters. The conflict with Hales had changed me, shifting something fundamental in my understanding of our purpose. "We've spent years reacting to crises," I told them, gesturing toward the wall of companies we'd rescued. "It's time we prevent them and build something new." Bryn leaned forward. "What are you proposing?" Legacy Blueprint, I said, revealing the concept I'd been developing since our victory. A program to support entrepreneurs from non-traditional backgrounds. First-generation college graduates, veterans, single parents, people with vision but without connections. The idea had germinated during my confrontation with Camilla. Her words about never making her own choices had haunted me, creating an unexpected empathy. How many talented people had been denied opportunities simply because they weren't born into the right families? We converted the east wing of our office into an innovation space, offering free mentorship and seed funding. I conducted interviews personally, always asking one key question: tell me about a time when someone underestimated you. Their stories mirrored my own: brilliant ideas dismissed, paths blocked by invisible barriers of class and connection. Simultaneously, we launched Predator Hunt, using our expertise to identify corporate abuses before they destroyed lives and livelihoods. Your betrayal comes with a price, I told Robert's former team members who now worked for us, bringing in valuable insider information about other corrupt executives. Diamond returned from abroad, visiting our new headquarters with quiet pride in his eyes. The student has surpassed the teacher, he said, examining our expanded operation. You haven't just played chess, Logan. You've changed the rules of the game. Bryn developed an algorithm to detect corporate fraud in its early stages, creating an early warning system for regulatory agencies. We provided it anonymously, letting the results speak for themselves. Preston attempted to rebuild his reputation, approaching me through intermediaries. My message was simple: you have one chance to do something right. The chess knight on my desk remained my only personal item, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful moves come from unexpected directions. We weren't just salvaging companies anymore, we were reshaping the landscape that had once excluded us. 5 years passed like a gentle wind, transforming Northgate from a corporate rescue operation into an ethical powerhouse. Our influence stretched beyond markets and boardrooms, reshaping the very culture of business. For a special evening, I chose the historic chess club where Diamond and I first strategized. The building had been restored, its worn charm preserved amid modern updates, much like my own journey. At the center of the main hall stood an oversized chessboard, pieces arranged to tell the story of moves that had defined my path. Guests mingled around it: Blueprint graduates, former clients, and the expanded Northgate team. Your vision has helped over 300 entrepreneurs, Bryn said, now my equal partner in the firm. Not bad for someone who was supposed to fetch coffee for the rest of his life. I smiled, watching the diverse crowd. The wealthy now sought our approval rather than the reverse, a shift that still amused me. Logan Shaw. A familiar voice carried over the room's hum. Camilla stood before me, transformed. Gone was the socialite draped in designer excess. Her simple attire echoed her new role as director of a non-profit fighting corporate corruption. We've both found our true calling, she said, offering a glass of champagne in toast. Our conversation was brief but significant. Two people who had moved beyond their past to create meaningful futures. Diamond took the podium, announcing the creation of a foundation in my name to support ethical entrepreneurship. The crowd applauded as he revealed our next global initiative, expanding Blueprint internationally. Preston made a brief appearance, now running a modest but honest company, redemption reflected in his humbled demeanor. When my turn came to speak, I kept it simple. True power isn't in position but in positive impact. Later, as guests departed, Diamond and I sat for a quiet chess game, completing the circle of our journey. On my desk back at Northgate, I'd replaced the elaborate nameplate with a simple black knight, a reminder that in chess as in life, the most powerful moves often come from unexpected directions. From the corner of the room, a young woman watched us intently, taking notes. The beginning of a new cycle, another story waiting to unfold. I moved my knight forward, embracing whatever came next,